Aging isn't about shrinking back or playing small. It's about stepping forward with even more courage, wisdom, a little bit of fire. I want to remind you to stay bold as you grow old. It's possible. It's the key to living fully. You know, there's a vast majority of us baby boomers out in the world, and there's a lot of us that are vivacious and young at heart and going after what we want. We're being bold. And there seems to be this attitude in society that as you age, you're supposed to decline. You're supposed to shrink back. That, people say they don't feel seen or heard. And if you want to be seen or heard, then you need to get bold. Be bold. Live boldly. I love this concept. It's kind of like living life out loud, and that we shouldn't shrink back. We have more wisdom as we get older, and it needs to be shared. There are so many creators that have started YouTube channels that are my age or older, and I'm in my 70s, and I live boldly. Society says, no, slow down, retire, fade off into the sunset. It's the winter of our life. Well, I don't know if you've ever lived through a hard winter, but you got to be pretty bold to do that. It can be hard. And, are these our golden years? It's just kind of that attitude. So why don't we prove them wrong? Let's step out and be bold. How do you do this? Speak your truth. You have wisdom like nobody else has because you've lived a lot of years. You've overcome a lot of obstacles. You've walked through some grief, and you've learned. And you have wisdom. Wisdom that needs to be shared. Well, nobody will listen to me. Well, share it. Not for anybody else, but for yourself. That's the YouTube. People on YouTube, they're doing YouTube videos for legacy, or so that their family can remember stuff that from them, and they're sharing their wisdom. And there's people out there that need to hear what only you have to say. Seek out some passions. Are you passionate about something? Go volunteer. Or, I still work. I don't think I would be very productive if I didn't still work. I'm retired and I want to work, but I'm working at what I want to do today. Not what the man or what I have to, but what I want to do. And it's so fulfilling. And you have to be bold to do that. Boldness. What is it? Is it absence of fear, or is having a lot of courage? Well, courage is not the absence of fear. It's feeling the fear and doing it anyway. That's courage. To step out, to learn new technology, learn new things. Even if you're not doing something like this, learn new things. If you have health problems or physical limitations or some of those things we deal with when we get into our 70s and beyond, then do other things. Don't want to do YouTube? Start to write. I don't know how to write. Well, then learn how. Watch some YouTubes about writing. There is so much information to learn whatever you want to learn, and it not cost you anything but time. And do it boldly. Say yes to those new things. Meet new people. You might just be one day away from meeting that new best friend. I certainly realized that a lot lately, that I've made some really good new friends, and it's fantastic. It's kind of put a little pep in my step, you know. Protect your voice. Don't dim it for others. Don't tell yourself, nobody wants to hear what I have to say. That's malarkey. Somebody does. Maybe you need to hear what you have to say. Speak boldly. I know that I picked this word for my word of the year because I felt like I needed to step out more boldly in my job as I was gearing down for retirement. And it's going to take some boldness to do some of that stuff. So I picked the word bold. And I had some circumstances that year that I certainly had to be bold. You say, but you don't know what it's like. I have physical limitations. Well, maybe I do know what it's like, because I went through a period of time to where I had some trouble with my legs and my lower body, and found out I needed to have a hip replaced. And I walked with a limp. And I'd get really tired, and my employees would say, "You're limping bad today. Are you hurting?" And I was hurting. And this was 2020, and we all know what happened that year, but I had to have my hip replaced. And at the end of the year in December, I had a hip replacement, and I had lost a lot of muscle tone. My legs were weak. And I heard not too long ago that your health is in your legs. And and I've always had really strong muscly legs. Tina Turner legs is what I call it. And I couldn't do what I used to do. I couldn't work out. I couldn't, uh, walk very far. And so I had this hip replaced, and I went to physical therapy. And if you've ever had a surgery like that, it takes some boldness to show up for that. And I think she's the greatest physical therapist. She pushed me, but I had to be bold to show up. I had to be bold to do the exercises and to work on the stuff. And I had a bad knee on the same leg, and they knew I was facing a knee replacement within a year or so of that hip replacement. So she gave me special exercises to build up the muscle, the quads in my leg, so that I would do better when I had the knee surgery. And I got me a little exercise bike, and I rode it. It was not a clothes hanger. I rode that thing after I finished my therapy sessions, and I still limped. And they ask you when you go in, what's your goal out of this? And I said, I don't want to walk like an old woman. And they said, okay, it's going to take some work. And I said, I'm up for it. That's boldness. Show up bold. And I think it takes some courage and boldness to age in this society. There are societies to where, as a woman gets older, she's revered. But I don't think it's so much in the United States where I live. Youth is revered. Well, I think about some of the mistakes and the stuff that I did in my youth. I'm thinking, whoa, I like the wisdom I have today. So I had the knee replacement. That was 2022 when my word was bold. And I had to really be bold. I was in the very low percentage of people that have knee replacements that had severe nerve pain. And I also had a ligament in the back of my upper leg that seized up. For whatever reason, I don't really know why, but not only did I have trouble walking and standing, I couldn't sit in a chair. I couldn't sit in a chair that had any type of firm surface. and they extended my physical therapy for 12 weeks. I was off for 8 weeks. I went through the most excruciating pain I've ever been in. I cried at the physical therapist. I had the same one. And that takes some boldness to do what they're trying to get me to do and it be that painful. For the first time in my life, I broke down and sobbed in a doctor's office. I was in so much pain. But I showed up. I stayed bold. And today I have the victory. I don't walk with a limp. I don't walk like an old woman. I can do things today that I could not do 10 years ago. And that is phenomenal to me. And I am grateful to God that sent the perfect things and people in my life to stay bold. They pushed me. They encouraged me to stay bold. And that's what I want to do here. I want to encourage you to stay bold, to do those things. If you need help, reach out. I do life coaching. A coach is someone that encourages and directs and cheers on their team to succeed, to win. Boldness does come with a price. You have to step out of your comfort zone. You have to learn to be uncomfortable, and you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I really, encourage you. Surround yourself with some bold thinkers. Some people that are your age, that think boldly, that live boldly, that don't shrink, to not to cover their light up, to let it shine. I think about, my husband's a Trekkie, and so I've seen pretty much everything Star Trek, and then some. And they say at the first, they're here to explore new worlds and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. I challenge you to try that. To boldly go, to seek out new worlds and new civilizations, to try something new. You can learn anything. Anything. I can attest to that. Live boldly. Live out loud. And most importantly, be you on purpose.